A young man from Greenville, Alabama, with an IQ of 75, unwittingly plays key parts in several crucial American historical events from the 1950s to the 1980s. This is Forrest Gump. Hi, I'm Anthony, your host.
And I'm Mark, your other host.
And this is Buddy Movies, the place where buddies talk about movies. Boom, there it is. Boom, roasted. It is.
Oh, speaking of which,
it is on.
You gotta see this.
Oh, let me see. What?
I got this week. I thought I bought 50, but it ended up being 100 Office character stickers.
Oh wow! There's Kevin. Who's that? Is that little blurry?
Michael? Scott. Okay, that's what she said.
No, nice.
And Stanley. I mean, dude, I literally have like 100 of these things. I broke them up into 4 groups. One of just words saying lines. One section of just their heads. And then a section of just Dwight, because there were so many of Dwight, obviously.
Yeah.
Just Dwight stuff, and probably can't see him too well, but...
Yeah.
And then people's faces with words attached to it. But nice. I'm going to stick these things everywhere.
Nice.
Maybe all over my office.
There you go.
And then I actually wrote outlines for the first 3 episodes of my show that I want to do called Somehow I Manage.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, talking about being a supervisor and stuff in the first 3 episodes. The first episode is why Michael Scott is a good manager. Mm-hmm. Second is why Michael Scott is a great manager. And third episode is why Michael Scott is a terrible manager. Okay. So it'll break down like the different aspects of Michael Scott, what makes him, this is what he does good. And then this is what he's doing that's really excellent. And then this is what he's doing that obviously is terrible, which any joke is kind of like fodder for that very easily, yeah. Because they just have him going so overboard. And obviously season 1 is just absolutely a terrible, terrible person.
Yeah.
I'm drinking coffee this evening because I'm wiped.
You're wiped out. So even season 1, Michael, I may feel people think I'm a bad person because of this. I still didn't hate Michael in season 1. Like, yeah, he did it. He was a lot worse, but I still overall enjoy season 1. Like I
think I can enjoy season 1 Michael Scott because he didn't become season 2 Ricky Gervais.
Mm-hmm.
So since he became season 2 Michael Scott, you can go back and kind of forgive a lot of that stuff and be like, oh, I see how it fits into his character, but also how it doesn't, but it works,
Yeah.
Whereas if he had continued being that rough and just became more and more of a terrible person,
right,
like he was, then whereas instead he becomes, the literal heart of the show.
Yes.
You're not actually, like, as much as you're rooting for Jim and Pam, Michael Scott was the heart of that show. He was the thing that everything rotated around.
Which is why it's no coincidence that when he left after season 7, things started going downhill pretty fast and didn't recover really.
They still put out some very solid episodes.
There were some here
season
and there.
9, I still consider season 9 a solid season. Overall, completely. I just think it's hampered by the fact that, well, first of all, it has the super cheesy finale, which I love, but it just kind of is weird because it doesn't end in a normal Office fashion, and it has that ending of over sentimentality and let's pick up a year later type of stuff. But it's also hampered by the fact that you have season 8 before it. Yeah. And you have to get through season 8 to get through season 9. I mean, I've often told people that if you want, you can skip season 8. Just you have to know that Andy's now the manager, and what was the other thing? There's like a couple other minor things that happened.
Some things that happened in Florida with Saber, and yeah.
And David bought the company back. Those are the 2 main things.
That's right. Yeah. I've honestly, like I think I texted you the one day. I've only seen season 8 once, and that was when it was on air. Like I haven't. There may be 1 or 2 episodes I've gone back and rewatched, but yeah, I've literally seen season 8 pretty much once.
Yeah,
and most of season 9 once, I would say. Post Michael, I lost a lot of interest, but there are some good. There's still some good in there. It's not like it's unwatchable. It's just not near up to.
I mean, they have some of the best pranks in the later seasons. Like Asian Jim alone.
Asian Jim is classic. He's classic.
So classic. And that's season 9, I think. What else is there? Everything that goes on with like Jim actually maturing and growing as a character. Like season 9 is Jim's growth season.
Mm-hmm.
You know, before that he kind of just trudges along, and he does grow. He gets the girl. He has his moments, but I really feel like you see Jim go from being that dorky little kid, as I'm older than him now than when he starts on the show, to being a full-fledged like man, like the type of man you would want, like the guy who's worthy of everything he put in for Pam at the beginning, because he actually makes the sacrifices he's supposed to make. He gets to the edge, and they even talk about this in the show with David Wallace. He says, he gets to the point where he's losing his family, and he realizes it, and he takes action to fix it.
Yeah,
instead of just because they could have very easily just destroyed that couple and had them end in divorce, which would have been realistic, but
people would have hated it.
People would have hated it.
Yeah.
It would not still be a beloved show, I don't think, if that's what they did with it.
Yeah.
But they were able, and there's fan theories out there like, oh no, they definitely ended in divorce. I still don't get where the Jim cheated on Pam in Florida thing comes from. Like, people think that's actually a fan theory that's out there, and it's a very popular one. And I'm just like,
no.
Are you guys idiots?
No.
It didn't happen.
No. Or that the whole subplot with Pam and the boom guy. I still hate that was even a thing. Like, I hate that.
Well, I don't get why people think it's such a big thing. It's literally like such a minor thing where it's like, okay, yeah, I think the boom guy did have some type of feelings for Pam, but he never really acted on them. He literally, like, she was crying about how Jim's been acting.
Right.
He put his hand on her hand. She gets the realization of, oh my gosh, this guy likes me, and instantly shuts it down. Instantly shuts it down. She did what she's supposed to do in that situation, even to the point, I think, maybe a little harsher than she needed to, because they do establish the fact that they were real friends, that they hung out with this guy outside of the show, like they hung out with Brian. They knew who his girlfriend was. And, yeah, so to me, it was like he was being a friend, and then, yeah, he probably did have feelings for her, and everyone wants to make it like some type of way worse thing, maybe because they're just blinded by the fact that it's a brand new character to them. But I like to think of it as he's the guy who's Jim's been looking at for 9 seasons, and looking, when Jim looks at the camera and go, that's who Jim's kind of like making his faces towards, is the boom guy. So when you realize that he's the character that's been interacting with Jim the whole time, to me, it makes it easier, more understandable where that character and how all the interactions happen.
Yeah, this
is great opening banter. I love it.
This is good. It was good.
I really would love to do an Office series.
Yeah.
I think I would want to get more people involved in that, though. I think if we were going to do something about The Office, we should have like 4 of us at least talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, I'm thirsty tonight.
I got a cup of water myself right here. Good old H2O. Well, should we dive right into this?
Let's dive right into this
movie.
Awful movie.
Forrest Gump, released July 6, 1994. Written by Eric Roth. It's actually based on a book by Winston Groom, which I never read. Mm-hmm. There are some differences between the book and the movie, which we'll get into a little bit later. But it was then directed by Robert Zemeckis, who, of course, did the Back to the Future trilogy, Castaway, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Polar Express. He collaborated with Tom Hanks several times. And yeah, this movie was nominated for 13 Oscars. This is one of the most awarded shows that we've done on this podcast. Nominated for 13 Oscars, won 6, including Best Picture in 1995, and it also won for Best Actor in a Leading Role for Tom Hanks, Best Writing, Screenplay based on material previously produced or published, Best Film Editing, Best Effects, Visual Effects, and which is interesting because you constantly like to rip on the effects in this movie when it actually won the Oscar for Best Visual Effects, which I think honestly hold up very well, but I'll get into that in a sec. It also grossed $678.2 million worldwide on a $55 million budget, so this was a very successful film, both from a critical and box office standpoint. The story anyone who's listening to this probably already knows, about this guy, this young man played by Tom Hanks, named Forrest Gump, who has this low IQ, who ends up basically unwittingly becoming involved in several key American historical events. And the reason, I can already tell you've got something for that, but you'll get your turn. Don't you worry. I just think, and this is one of those movies just for these reasons. This film is just simultaneously, to me at least, it's beautiful, it's touching, it's powerful, for the reason that it perfectly exemplifies and illustrates so many truths about life, about human life, and our experience in our lives. It's one of the very, very few films, and I've seen a lot of films, it's one of the very, very few that really makes me think and ponder about my own life and my own future when I watch this movie. It's one of those that just, I really don't know how to explain it. I can't really put it into words. It just really moves me.
Because there
moves
aren't
me.
Any good words for it.
It really, really moves me. And part of that, a significant part, I will say, is due to this beautiful score by Alan Silvestri, which somehow
it does have a beautiful score. That is amazing, and yet it still didn't win the Oscar for that.
Yeah, I forgot to. I didn't have time to look it up. I don't know what won.
Hans Zimmer won with The Lion King.
Lion King. Okay, all right. Well, yeah, that's a good score too. Okay, so it was up against good competition, but this is, I don't know, live action. It's a tough call. This movie has an amazing score. I honestly probably place this above Lion King, but. It's a score that's beautiful, it's heartbreaking and inspiring all at the same time. All those emotions are like mixed in with this score. I love it. It's one of my favorite movie scores of all time. Mm-hmm. Alan Silvestri, who the
score is very key.
Who also he collaborated with Zemeckis a lot. He did Back to the Future trilogy. I think he did Castaway as well. He's done a lot of Zemeckis' films for him. And another key thing in this movie. Just the character himself, the title character, Forrest Gump. Tom Hanks's character is so, you're going to hate when I say this, is so well written. I mean, so well written. He's a character that doesn't just exist as part of the story, but one that constantly serves to interweave the story with the film's overarching themes. What are those themes? I'll get into that in a second.
No. You think it's the writing that makes Forrest Gump a good character, not Tom Hanks's acting?
It's both. I haven't gotten to his acting yet. That comes later. It's both. I think a huge part of it is the writing as well. Yes. I'll get into it later. The performance is a huge part as well. Yes. And due to his character being a mentally handicapped individual, he's someone who has this childlike innocence that carries over into adulthood. And it just makes him like an automatic endearing character because he's doing all these things out of innocence of not knowing, oh, is this appropriate to be doing in society or in this culture? Is it appropriate to do this? He doesn't know. And he does all these things just out of a pure innocence. And he's just such an endearing character to me. One of the main themes of this film is that life is unpredictable, which is an incredibly relevant theme that everyone can relate to, because it's just true. This movie speaks so many truths. The highlight, the iconic quote here is that life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. And his character exemplifies that constantly throughout the film, through everything that he experiences, things that appear to be coincidence, but maybe aren't coincidence at the same time. And he starts out as a nobody, someone with an IQ of 75 who has no social graces, no friends, lives with his single mother, who, by the way, is played extremely well by Sally Field. Great performance as well for her. And through sheer coincidence, he gradually becomes somebody and eventually becomes involved in these big historical events. But at the same time, it really wasn't. The film tells us that this really wasn't just sheer coincidence, because the opening scene, the feather, is an obvious, it's not really subtle, but that's okay. It doesn't have to be subtle. The feather is an obvious metaphor for the human condition, for human life, that this is us. The feather is us being moved in the wind, in the air, apparently falling just aimlessly, but also perhaps being guided by someone or something. And I just think it's a profound, a beautiful metaphor that the film exemplifies through its story and through its characterization of Forrest Gump himself. And I love how the opening scene is bookended by the end, with the feather playing a part in the beginning and the end, just like bookending it perfectly. And I want to discuss just the opening scene in general. A almost 2.5 minute illusional one shot. And I say illusional because it's not actually one shot, because when it goes up in the sky, there's a cut. They cut when it's up in the sky, but it's an illusional one shot for 2.5 minutes following this feather that ends up landing at his feet. It's a flat out great opening to a movie. It's a great shot. The CGI feather, I think, looks good. You apparently don't. We'll see why in a second. I don't know why. Maybe you need new prescription glasses or contacts. I don't know.
I just got my prescription updated. When was the last time you got yours updated?
Well, that's not important. Also, it was recently. So,
okay.
For my contacts. But at any rate, I think the feather looks good. I think it moves accurately in the air, the way it floats, and I don't see anything wrong with the feather, honestly. And this movie has several just incredible scenes, not only from an acting standpoint, but also from a writing standpoint. I'm going to one of the scenes here is when Forrest is at Jenny's graveside.
I don't know if Mama was right or if it's Lieutenant Dan. I don't know if we each have a destiny or if we're all just floating around accidental like on a breeze. But I think maybe it's both. Maybe both is happening at the same time.
And that's what I personally believe. Everyone knows the free will versus divine intervention argument, that if God is omnipotent and omniscient and he knows everything that'll ever happen to us, how do we have free will? And it's a complex argument that I believe is perfectly explained in this movie, where both are actually happening simultaneously, that it is possible for both things to actually be happening simultaneously. And I just love the illustration through the metaphor of the feather. I just think it's brilliant. I think it's powerful, and it just perfectly explains life in general. Another great scene here is whenever Forrest is at his mother's bedside.
What's my destiny, Mom?
You're gonna have to figure that out for yourself. Life is a box of chocolates, Forrest. You never know what you're gonna get.
Mama always had a way of explaining things so I could understand them.
I will miss you, Forrest.
It's, his. I'm just, I'm welling up with emotion here. Just, just the scene itself here. It's a powerful scene because
Oscar Beatty scene.
Forrest is us. We are Forrest because none of us know what our future holds. None of us knows if we're going to live till we're 75, 80 years old and have grandkids, or if we're going to die of cancer in the next couple of years, or if we're going to die in a car crash tomorrow. None of us knows. And that's a little bit scary. It's scary not knowing what your future is and where you're going to go in life. And from that standpoint, this is something that literally every single human being can relate to, and that's why this movie is so powerful and so it's just so emotionally resonant. It's because of because it touches on those universal truths and universal themes. And so my main pros here for this movie is that this movie just flat out just completely knocks it out of the ballpark. I'll use a baseball analogy because I like baseball. Knocks it out of the ballpark when it comes to its story, to its themes, to its characterization of Forrest Gump. And I'm not sure how much you know about the book, but this movie, in my opinion, improves on the book dramatically. There are several differences in the book that I think the book completely...
Well, yeah, I mean, it makes everything a little bit cleaner and nicer and easier than the book has it, There's no real struggles for the character, so it makes it better than the book, I guess.
I wouldn't say that, but as far as... I'll get into Tom Hanks' performance here, portraying a mentally handicapped man. I think to date, this is Hanks' best performance of his career. It's certainly his most iconic, and in my opinion, his best performance. Other notable mentions for myself, I liked our Castaway, Apollo 13, Philadelphia. His voice performance, obviously, in Toy Story is iconic as well. But this performance is incredible. Nothing short of incredible here. And so several key scenes I want to highlight and point out are whenever he's at Jenny's graveside. That scene, that acting there is incredible. The his line, "I'm not a smart man, but I know what love is." I love that scene as well when he's talking to Jenny in his house. And then another fantastic scene is whenever he discovers his son named Forrest, and whenever he questions Jenny, asks Jenny if he's handicapped like he is. Just it's emotionally wrenching, but in a good way. This movie is emotionally wrenching, heartbreaking, and inspiring all at the same time. And that's what I love about it, is that it touches on so many emotions and yet still manages to succeed. And then I just want to bring in lastly here the technical aspects. The visual effects we talked about a little bit. The digital compositing that was pioneering at the time, where Tom Hanks is digitally inserted into historical footage, and it looks, in my opinion, I think it looks incredible. It still holds up this movie's over 25 years old.
Got to get new glasses.
Holds up over 25 years later. I think it's outstanding. And even the digital removal of Gary Sinise, I think that's how you say his name. Sinise. His legs, the digital removal of his legs, I think is pretty much flawless. There may be one or two shots where you can kind of tell, but I think it's incredible, the digital removal they did for his legs. And even scenes like the Lincoln Memorial in DC, that scene where he reunites with Jenny, the crowd there is 90% CGI. And you don't even notice, do you? I bet you don't even notice because it's so well done.
It's also a very wide shot.
It is wide, really, so that helps as well. Yeah, but the visual effects are amazing in this movie. Well-deserved Oscar. This movie is one of my all-time favorites. It is incredible. It's touching. It's poignant. It's powerful. Emotionally wrenching and heartbreaking all at the same time. And go ahead and do your best, but you will epically fail.
Ouch. Wow, that's a terrible introduction. Terrible segue.
Take it away.
My goodness.
Take it away. Can you tell
where do I start?
Yeah, I'm a little passionate about it. I'm not sorry about it.
Apparently. And you're not sorry, but no, it's fine. I just you love your little cliche story with your cliche characters and their cliche, let's go with the chocolate thing, cliche caramel centers and their cliche chocolate wrapping. Oh my gosh, this movie, the premise alone is just utterly ridiculous. It's so I really just wanted to like ease into this, but I don't think I'm going to be able to, because this is just like mind-boggling that so many people hail this movie as so great when I honestly feel it doesn't hold up 25 years later. I feel the graphics are obvious now, that that any film school student can do better now with technology has advanced to the point where this just looks kind of pathetic. Especially with the historical footage scenes, like you're looking at JFK and was it Johnson? Is that the other one?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, when he meets these guys, like you can just tell that it's so fake, that it's not really them talking, and it's not, it's just like their faces are just so digital. It reminds me of like the complaint everyone had in Rogue One with Grand Moff Tarkin, where it was just like, oh, that's just fake. That was like the main complaint everyone had, that they just could tell that it wasn't real, and that looked way better than this does. The legs for Gary Sinise, like the clothing doesn't move right on the ends. Like you can see when he moves around, the ties just stay still. They're rigid the entire time. It's like he starched them to death or something, because they don't flop like they should, because they're just cloth.
Just little
they're
details.
Just stuck still, little details that matter.
This is 1994. Don't forget. I mean,
it is 94. No, it was groundbreaking for the day, and I think that's kind of why, kind of what helps everyone think that this movie is so good, is the fact that the score and the special effects and Tom Hanks's acting kind of hide everything else that's terrible about this movie. If you focus on just those three things, then yeah, you can say it's a good movie, which I was so happy that that's the path you took, was those three things is pretty much what you talked about. But this movie, from the cliche characters, every single character in this movie, except for Forrest, is pretty much a cliche. You have the girl next door who's just a hot mess and just destroying her life over and over again. You have the Southern mama who's just so wise and pops in whenever you need her good advice. And then, of course, she'll die at some point. And then, you have the all-American, like, soldier, everybody in my family has fought in a war and died, and I'm going to do the same thing. You have him, and he's honestly probably one of the better characters in this movie, but it's still just so cliche and overdone.
You don't love his character arc?
They're just so one-dimensional. He's the only one with a character arc. He's the only one with an arc.
Jenna? You think she starts at the beginning and she does the end? Are you serious? It's a complete 180.
It's more like a 360.
I think it's a 180. I don't see how.
No, she starts out as like, I don't know. She just kind of keeps circling around doing the same thing. She's still a piece of crap human being the entire movie.
How about Bubba?
Like, okay, forget the little girl. Bubba, what? Being the black guy who gets killed off?
How he starts out with nobody and then becomes like best friends with Forrest throughout the war. How is that?
And then he gets killed off. Then they,
eventually,
as typical Hollywood fashion, they kill their black guys. Because this movie, that's the other thing. Oh my gosh, I don't even want to touch the kind of racial things in this movie, but they kind of use Forrest Gump to erase some parts of Black history. And
How?
it's
I'm
how?
not. Yeah, I
Well,
don't
they
see.
have Forrest teaching Elvis how to dance when it was very widely known that Elvis kind of stole his dances from black culture. What else? The guy who did the Watergate scandal was actually a black guy, who blew the whistle on that, but, they have it being Forrest Gump,
So
And I know they're just, and he breaks the color barrier at Alabama school. He's the one who does that. Girl drops her book as she's being integrated into the school, and he's the one who, breaks the color barrier and advances civil rights by picking up her book and handing it to her. So let's just.
is that not a good thing though? Like this because it shifts.
Good thing, but they're having him just fall into it. He's not doing it out of any type of intentionality, out of any type of goodness. He's doing it out of just like, I don't understand anything that's going on, so I just keep doing these things.
See, I don't think that's the case.
It's so shallow.
There is a line where it's like he's still like he has an IQ of 75, but he's still not like downright stupid and isn't completely aware of anything. Like he still has
But I mean, he doesn't have any growth himself. There is no difficulty in his life, really.
Are you
like everything he does, he stumbles into. He just because he's looking for Bubba, he becomes this hero. Meanwhile, he gets mildly injured while everyone else around him is getting blown to smithereens. You know what I mean? Like
that can happen in war. Yes,
that can happen in a war, but it was like so, like just not. His life has been so much easier than everyone else's. Everybody's life around him is worse than his. He's just like trudging along. Hey, I'm the special little guy who just keeps running and everything goes good for me because I just keep running.
Did you miss?
I mean, it's how he gets into college.
Did you miss
how he gets in?
Did you miss the bullying scenes? Did you fast forward to those or just miss those?
He ran. He just ran, and they were all better. And that's. I mean, so like he had those leg braces, but apparently those were just holding him back from being the all-star runner that he apparently was.
It's called
they just fall off.
A miracle scene.
Yeah,
did you ever hear of one?
Because his life just gets so much easier because it's a miracle. Everything about his life is a miracle. Like he's the worst shrimp boat ever, and then every single shrimp boat is destroyed except his by some magical reason, and now he becomes the king of shrimp.
So essentially, you think he's essentially Jesus Christ in this movie? Is that where you're
Pretty
going?
much. Everything is just so easy for him. There's no struggle. There's no actual struggle for him.
See, I don't see it that way.
He doesn't have to. Like, what did he struggle? What did he strive for? How did he change or grow at all to become a better person to achieve any of his goals? He didn't. He just lops along to scene to scene to scene to, hey, we're going to throw another historical cliche pop culture reference in here to kind of show the dates here to the point where the pop culture references are just so there that they're just like they're pounding you over the head with like, hey, look, we're making references to stuff that happened in history. Come on, guys, you like this. Enjoy this movie. It's good because you remember this stuff.
I think what you're missing is stuff that happens between the lines. Like whenever he's in school, whenever he eventually does go to that school that at first rejected him because his IQ was too low, he still had to graduate from that school, and he still did, didn't he? He did. So he did all that work that you just don't see that's in the actual film. So there's a lot of things that happen to his character that are not specifically in the school. That are not actually in
screen. That's your argument, is that he had growth off screen?
I'm telling you not to disregard things that happen off screen that happen in his life through his character, because obviously they can't detail a 75,000 hour film to detail his entire life.
No, they just made a 3-hour film that makes you sit there and wonder what you just watched when you're done with it.
It just pains me you don't see the power that is in this film. It pains me that you don't see it. It hurts my heart just a little bit. It kills my soul just a little bit.
I know. I could see that. I touched a nerve.
It just kills my soul.
Expecting that to actually happen.
I am dead inside.
Yeah. And then there's the points like at the end he's suddenly self-aware. Like they he goes along this whole time not seeming to realize that he has a developmental disability, And then suddenly at the end, when she says it's your son, he's like overcome with this level of self-awareness that he just hasn't shown throughout the rest of the movie. He's just suddenly like, oh, wait, no, is he like me? I hope he's not. And that to me is just like, it kind of takes you out of the movie a little bit, because it's like, wait, does he or does he not know that he has issues?
I mean, like I pointed out when I was doing my argument for it, he literally says earlier in the movie when he's talking to Jenny in his house, "I'm not a smart man." Did you miss that scene? He literally explicitly says that he admits that he's not smart, that he has this hindrance to him. He explicitly says it, so he's definitely aware of it.
Yeah, and that scene, and in the scene when he has a kid, and that's it. Everywhere else, he seems to be able to just figure things out and become a millionaire and have more money than God, and
and yet he doesn't really spend any of that money, does he? Like he doesn't. He doesn't. He's not concerned about money. Like he still lives the simple life despite having all that money.
It's very easy to live a simple life when you don't have to worry about money. So he happens into this situation that just makes his life, again, easy. He gets to go on a run across the country for 3 years or 4 years, however long it was in the movie, because he doesn't have to worry about any money. He's already made his millions, if not billions, He just left it to Lieutenant Dan to run everything for him, and keep it going. It just, I don't know. I just find the movie to be what?
Do you find him to be an unlikable character?
No, I don't think he's unlikable. I think, his wide-eyed innocence, Tom Hanks does it very well. Tom Hanks' acting on this character is great. It's very subtle. He doesn't overplay it. He doesn't, he doesn't do the whole, what's that movie? Tropic Thunder. In Tropic Thunder, they kind of make fun of this type of movie, So they kind of, he does it very subtly. Actually, that's kind of a funny thing, because I work in IDD, which is intellectual developmental disabilities. That's my career right now. So it's actually funny, because in 1992, he technically would have stopped being mentally handicapped by the standards, because they changed the standards from 80 in 1992 to 67. So in 1992, we magically cured a bunch of these people with developmental disabilities by just, changing the score of the IQ score part of it.
I mean, the film was just like set in the 50s at the start of it, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. I mean, and that's actually to their credit, because they actually used the proper thing for that, because it was filmed in like 92, 93, and they could have very easily messed that part up. But no, they had the right numbers on there. But I just think it's kind of funny that Forrest Gump got cured about 10 years after the movie ended.
Yeah. So you haven't even brought up the thing that I thought you would have brought up by now. Maybe you won't. Let's see. How much do you have? Any other?
Other than the fact that it's shallow, it's too long. There's not really much going on in this movie. It's just like one reference after another. Hey, we have the ability to do these cool special effects. Let's just throw it in there. Hey, he taught Elvis how to dance. He's a millionaire. He easily comes by this stuff. He inspires John Lennon's song that made him like his most popular song ever.
But the thing is, like, a lot of these things that you say he did all these things, like, he didn't profit from that, though. He didn't profit in any way from teaching from John Lennon's his song. He didn't profit in any way.
No, but they kind of make him this all powerful character who just like goes through it. It's just weird to me. It's just weird to kind of take this and when there are actual people who did this stuff. That's the other thing to me. There are actual people who were in history doing these things, and they just tie it all into this one guy
who we don't, like things that could have happened that we don't even know about. And I like that this film presents that unique perspective from one person. Like there's nothing like this movie. It's just completely
there's nothing like
unique.
Forrest Gump. There's no one who did all these things, though. There's no one like this. He's an impervious character. There's got no flaws. He's practically bulletproof.
He has no flaws, except for the fact that he has an IQ of 75. And
that's the thing. He has his IQ of 75, and yet he's able to do so much. Anyways, he becomes an All-American football star. He meets 3 presidents. He becomes the millionaire CEO of this big old business that everyone knows. Like it's literally like, to me, and I hate this term in and of itself, but it's just like this crazy, like, white privilege. Like, oh yeah, see, you just trudge along and everything will work out for you. This is literally like what people think it's like, just being a average, below average white dude in America. Like, that's literally what they think this is like. And this movie kind of glorifies that. Like, it's just so bizarre.
I don't see it that way at all. I think and I think it actually celebrates the fact that he doesn't have this supreme intelligence. He's not a super rich, intelligent white boy who has all the answers to life, who can go to Harvard, and he starts out with nothing, literally nothing, no father, no siblings, a dedicated mother. He has one of those. No friends to speak of. He eventually gets Jenny, and he starts out with nothing, and ends up becoming somebody. And I think the film celebrates. I love the way the film actually celebrates that. He doesn't have to. You don't have to have all these qualities to be successful. Even though, like
success is in the eye of the beholder. I mean, success is defined differently for every person, so I don't even care about that. It's more the fact that he becomes so overly successful without actually having to do anything for it. There's no real sacrifice to get all these things that he has. Like, it literally is just too easy. I mean, I've said that. I've said my part on that. Like, it literally just comes to him. He doesn't have to really apply to college. He just takes 5 years to get through because they wanted to play him in the sport so much. He doesn't think about what he's doing next in life. He just joins the army and does whatever they tell him to do, and becomes this person who's in the middle of Vietnam, and he ends up becoming a speaker at this rally against Vietnam. He meets the Black Panthers, and it's just so, like, everything just happens to Forrest Gump, and everything works out no matter what. There's no real rhyme or reason to it. It just happens. And so to me, it's just a frustrating movie to watch, because there's literally like there's nothing and there's no substance here. It's just a shallow film.
There's nothing but substance.
There's no substance. It's literally just, hey, here's our Oscar bait. Here's our dramatic scene for Jenny. Here's our dramatic scene for the mom. Here's our dramatic scene for Gary Sinise as he, falls off of his wheelchair screaming at, what was it? The hookers. It's just like, I don't know. Like, they each get their little scene.
Like, did you feel nothing whenever Lieutenant Dan, like, whenever he goes in the water and has that moment, that realization, did you get anything from those kinds of scenes, or no?
Yeah, sure. He made his peace. Yeah, I remember watching the movie and thinking it was good back in the day when it first came out. But as time goes on, it just doesn't have anything to it. It doesn't have that rewatchability to me. I know lots of people disagree with me. I know this is an unpopular opinion.
Yeah.
But it's just, to me, it's just such a shallow story that I don't find the draw in it. I don't get it. To me, it's just so low in actual quality and substance that I'm shocked that it did get so many nominations. And it was just, I honestly, and this is where, because we've talked about Oscars before, and how I don't think that people really lose, but I think this is just typical of the Oscar system, where, like, there were better movies there that probably got people saying number one, and then a lot of people put this down as number 2 or number 3. So the aggregate score of this movie ended up being higher than the others. And that's why it won all these best pictures and everything, is because it got everyone's number 2, but nobody's number one. That would be my guess, but we'll probably never know.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, the special effects were great. Tom Hanks was great, and the score was good. I don't think the special effects hold up now. They are dated. To me, that's plenty obvious.
You did watch,
but I mean, you fell for that Spider-Man trailer and thought that was modern.
Hey, that was on my phone in a Sheetz gas station, and
I was watching it on my phone with my glasses on,
and I wasn't watching it very closely. But at any rate, at any rate, what was I going to say? At any rate, Julie, if you have still made it through this episode, God bless you. Second of all, if you are still listening, I really wish we could have had you on for this, because, like I said, I was telling Mark, this is one of her favorite movies. She texted me literally when I was kind of discussing the episode tonight with her earlier today. She doesn't understand how somebody could not like Forrest Gump, and I'm like,
well, now maybe she will understand.
Maybe she'll understand. Boy.
The movie I mean, let's not even forget the fact that they're going through so many major historical events, and yet they say nothing about any of them. They make no commentary. The movie takes no stances. It's just obvious that the movie's shallow because they didn't take a stance on anything.
I think it's supposed
to be... They didn't say anything. They're trying to get into everybody's good side. They're trying to please everybody. They're trying to get everybody to like this movie. They're trying to be white bread.
White bread.
And that
if it was white bread,
they did.
If it was white bread, they wouldn't have bothered to comment on the civil rights movement, or they wouldn't have had a black lady sitting on the bench in the opening scene with Forrest Gump. They would have had a white lady or a white man.
Don't even think about that. Like,
yeah, what was the problem with that?
Sitting there.
It's a black lady.
It's a black lady sitting there. She's clearly not interested, and he keeps talking about her. And are we going to just gloss over the fact that he's like, I'm named after the founder of the Ku Klux Klan? I know you're not interested in West A, but I'm named after him. Let me just keep chugging on here with my story now about I helped Elvis learn how to dance, not the black people. You know, I taught him how to dance. Yeah, I did all these things. I'm such a great guy. And that's not, and oh my God, Jenny, like the woman gets AIDS, comes back to Forrest, sleeps with him, probably gives him AIDS. He's going to die in a few years. That kid's going to be left without a father. Let's just be honest about this. This is probably what happened. This is the terrible inference that this movie leaves, is the fact that Forrest Gump Jr., who may not even be Forrest's actual kid, because they only did it once, and
well, she confirms it is his kid.
Because of it. Because she knows, because she's, only slept with Forrest.
I think it's his kid. It's his kid in the book as well, so it's his kid. See that
DNA test.
See you finally got the Gen A thing that you still didn't actually touch on. What I thought you were going to say, that she's just a terrible character for the fact that she basically sexually abuses a mentally handicapped person. Like I can't believe you didn't bring that up.
Too easy. That would have been too easy. That's like what everybody brings up about this. There's that. People bring that up when they do this. They bring up what else? Because there are certain things I just wanted to avoid. That, like, they bring up the racism that's clearly evident. I didn't want to talk about that throughout this movie that Zemeckis does in several of his films, where he did it in Back to the Future too, where he takes things that black people do but attributes them to white people somehow. And it's just really weird that he does that in multiples of his movies. So there's that type of stuff that I don't know. That's my take on Forrest Gump. I just don't like it. I don't think it's that great. It's not that I don't think it's... I see why people like it, but it's just... I don't think it's worthy of all the praise it gets. It didn't deserve the Oscar. You had Quiz Show and Shawshank Redemption and Pulp Fiction up against this, and somehow this won? No. Sorry.
You bet it did.
Didn't deserve it. No way.
And there's no taking it away either.
No, it's not taking it away. But
and
we already know the Oscars are kind of a crock.
Well, do you think the
And it
AFI
becomes
is
even worse.
Do you think the
They've
AFI
become
is a
even
crock
worse
too?
now.
Do you think the AFI is a crock too? Because they rank this
The
as the number.
AFI?
They rank this as the number 76 greatest movie of all time, as
Well,
of
it's the same people,
2007.
isn't it? Isn't
I
it
don't
practically
think
the same people doing that as the Academy?
I don't think so.
Bunch of old white dudes?
I don't think
so.
I don't think so. So fact check that. I don't think so.
Okay.
But yeah, Well,
I hurt you. Did I hurt your feelings?
Yeah.
Or?
No, it's okay. I'm
We're still friends.
I'm more just disappointed. It's just disappointment, really.
I'm just disappointed. That would work if it worked. It didn't work with my parents saying that type of stuff, so it's not going to work when you say it to me. Sorry, but someone being disappointed in me doesn't really hurt me.
It's just disappointment.
it's just been my life. It's just my life story. Yeah. People are disappointed with me.
It's okay. Not everyone needs to see the cinematic brilliance of a movie. Some people can see it. No. Some people can't. I
mean, there's so many other good movies that came out that year, dude. Like, look at what else was up there. Like Ed Wood, Legend of the Fall. There were so many other movies that year, and
none of them.
This is the thing that they talk about.
None of them
that they decided won.
None of them touched on any kind. None of them touched on any kind of universal truths that this movie portrays.
And this movie didn't either.
It did in every single way.
What universal truth?
Well, I mean, I spent a half an hour in the beginning explaining it. I don't really want to go back.
Except you never really said what truth it was talking about. You're just like, oh, it touches so many universal truths. That's all you said.
The fact that life is unpredictable, and that the fact that whenever you walk through life, you never know you don't know who you're going to meet, when you're going to meet them, what's going to happen as far as really anything that happens in your life. The fact, just the sheer unpredictability of it, and the fact that you can start out as seemingly no one, and still make a huge impact in the most unimaginable, miraculous way.
So it's a commentary on the American dream and saying that the American dream is still viable, even though know it's not anymore.
It could be for anybody. And the fact, I mentioned just the brilliance of the opening scene, and the fact of it commenting on the theology of the divine intervention versus free will. The fact that it explores that, I think is brilliant. It's okay.
Some big words there.
Yeah, because this movie has a lot to say. I mean, I could spend. That's a thing. I condensed my notes. I could spend probably 5 hours talking about the brilliance of the movie. I haven't scratched the surface of what I really, really want to say. But the fact of the matter is, we only have so much.
Maybe we should have a director's cut. We should have a director's cut. Maybe I should make my stuff lengthened out more and actually touch about every little thing.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to mail you my bonus. I got the 2-disc version of this movie, Blu-ray combo pack. Thank you very much. And I'm going to mail you.
Make it a 5-hour movie?
I'm going to mail you
with no clear message.
All the bonus features for this movie. I'm going to mail you them because there are several hours of bonus features.
No,
you
can't judge a movie as being good by bonus features. I'm sorry. If you have to go into the bonus features to make a movie good, then it's not good.
No.
This is why you can't say.
The movie is still good on its own. It's still great on its own. You get even more of the intent behind it through the bonus stuff. Oh, and through the commentary. It's so good. I highly recommend.
If the director has to explain his intent and the intent isn't clear, then it's not a good movie.
Oh, no, you can still get it out, but you get even more. So it's like, why would you not want even more? Why would you not want more? I always want more.
Because I just want it done in the movie. I just want the movie to be good. I want it to be deep. I want it to say things. I want
deep.
It to. If you're going to win an Oscar and all these awards and everyone's going to laud it as if it's the greatest thing ever, then it needs to have like that level of impact. And this movie just doesn't. It's so shallow.
I think it's as deep as the Mariana Trench. That's how deep I think it is.
Okay.
Which, I don't know offhand. I apologize how deep it actually is. A couple miles, several miles.
Google in front of you. Oh,
give me 1 sec. Just give me one second here. Bear with me, folks. How deep is the Mariana Trench? 36,201 feet. That's how deep I think this movie is. which translates to almost 7 miles. So 7 miles deep. That's how. And 7's a good number there. There's your lucky number. So that fits
I like
perfect.
13.
That fits perfectly. So yeah. Well, let's dive into.
I think. Yeah, we're just gonna stop here. I don't think we need to do trivia.
Oh, but there's so much good stuff. There's so much.
Man, we're almost hitting an hour. We're already hitting an hour. I think we've kind of covered this movie. You really want to do that trivia?
Well, let me look through. I can trim down. Let me just look through here. Give me a second.
I'm sure some of them have 3 hours. So
some of them I already kind of covered as I was going through it. Just the differences from the book. Fun stuff. Probably didn't know. Bill Murray, John Travolta, Chevy Chase all turned down the role of Forrest Gump, with Travolta later admitting that this was a mistake. Bill Paxton was one of Zemeckis'.
Ruined them. It would have ruined what already was. Like, if any of those actors played this, like, no one but Tom Hanks could have done this.
I mean, that's exactly what I was going to say.
It really would have worked. Chevy Chase and Bill Murray, it would have been a comedy then. They would have had to make it a slapstick comedy playing his character, and I don't think it would have been as well received.
And Bill Paxton was actually Zemeckis' first choice for the movie, but the studio wanted somebody with more star power at the time, and he just didn't have it. And then Winston Groom, who wrote the novel for it, originally envisioned John Goodman for Gump. So, also Haley Joel Osment, terrific child actor who unfortunately fell off the face of the planet after I'd say Secondhand Lions. This was his film debut after the cast director noticed him in a Pizza Hut commercial. So that was pretty cool. He's terrific in this movie as well. That's all I think I'm going to say about this brilliant movie. That's
all I have to say about that.
There you go. See, you're already quoting it. You'll love it. That's all I'm going to say about this masterpiece.
You used the word.
I did, and I don't use it very often. So that's just how much you know how much I love this movie. So,
such a disappointment, Anthony.
So, Julie, I'm so sorry, Julie, that I hope you made it through this episode. And definitely let us know, anybody who's listening, let us know your thoughts on the movie. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Do you take the unpopular?
I hope you're still a fan, Julie.
I think you probably lost one of our 3 viewers. So congratulations. We lost we're 1/3 down on our viewership after this episode. So what was I going to say? So yeah, let us know your thoughts in the comments if you liked it, didn't like it, if it's one of your favorites, or maybe you have Mark's position where you don't think it ages well, and it's shallow as a kiddie pool, and let us know. Next week we will be doing Spider-Man Homecoming, the first of the new Spider-Man trilogy. We'll be doing that next week. Yep. And then we'll be finishing the season off with The Dark Knight the week after. So we are almost finished with season 3 here. So yeah, stick with us. And thank you again for listening. Thanks for watching this episode of Buddy Movies. If you like what you saw, you can click up here for more episodes. And remember to like, share, and subscribe to get the access to all of our latest episodes. And if you really like what you see, you can support us on patreon.com/buddymovies. Thanks for watching, and stay cool.